Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of last week, Buckingham Palace was saying that the Queen still hoped to attend the Commonwealth Day Service on Monday, one of three engagements she wanted to meet in March. But on Friday, they decided no, she wasn't going to be able to do it. Now, I revealed in the Mail on Saturday they had already made significant tweaks to her programme on the day. She wasn't going to be dropped off at the main entrance, so she wasn't going to be in front of the cameras. It was going to be a side entrance at Westminster Abbey, which means she had a lot shorter walk to her seat. But I have to say, look, the Abbey is a very ancient building. The floors are very uneven. And the service, I was there, went on for over an hour. And I have to say, even I was kind of shifting around slightly uncomfortably on my seat at times. So you can imagine what that would have been like for a woman who is on the verge of celebrating her 96th birthday. I think, as the palace said to me, this is not to do with illness, it's to do with comfort, it's to do with her mobility. So, I don't think there's overwhelming cause for alarm, but I think what we have to expect now is that we aren't going to be seeing the Queen so much. She's not going to be so visible, and that, more engagements will be conducted in slightly more kind of comfortable behind the scenes way.
She's been increasingly using a walking stick, hasn't she, which isn't that surprising for someone of nearly 96, but do you think there's a reluctance on her part to start using a wheelchair?
I have to say, personally, I think it's incredibly unlikely we will ever see her in some kind of, wheelchair. Not that there's anything wrong with it, far from it. But the Queen's a woman of her generation. She's very proud. She's never really liked to make concessions to her age, although she is doing that now reluctantly by using a walking stick. I should say, I think what they will do is try to manage her diary. So if she does appear in public, it'll be a bit more controlled, a bit more comfortable. The engagements will be a lot shorter. But then largely we will see things, within royal residences, Buckingham Palace, Windsor, Sandringham. I think they'll just tweak her diary to make things more manageable for her rather than make drastic concessions in public to her age.
Thank you, Rebecca. Let's bring in our panel back now. Charlotte, that whole generation it's typical, isn't it? She doesn't like to show weakness, the Queen.
No, and I sort of am with her, because when she did use a stick that one time, myself included, we all went, oh my God, what's wrong with the Queen? What's going to happen to her? She's used a stick. It's completely normal to use a stick at the age of 95, but we're so not used to seeing that generation showing weakness. And I actually think if the Queen showed up in a wheelchair, it would sort of alarm the country and it wouldn't sit right. So I think she's made the right call.
But Tessa, we live in an age where more visibility of disabilities is encouraged, and and it sort of like helps evolve people's attitudes. But so could the Queen perhaps turn that into a positive?
If the Queen came from a different generation. And I work a lot with extremely old women, all of the Queen's generation, some who served in the same military service as her, and that's just not the way they were brought up. You didn't own or flaunt your weaknesses. You just didn't. It was stiff upper lip. It really was.
But also the Queen understands that her role in the monarchy is to be the most steadfast pillar. Yeah. She gets the symbolic. So yes, of course she's not a pillar that's holding up the whole country anymore at the age of 95. But she knows that that's how we want to remember her, how we want to see her.
But it's partly because that's the narrative that she's projected. I think we'd be okay with a more vulnerable Queen. I mean, she clearly is more vulnerable. But I'm going to take, for example, her peer who met her, Betty Webb. They met as nonagenarians, this wonderful moment they had together. And Betty, always, whenever I see a story about the Queen, I ring Betty just to sort of check in, because she's a little bit older, and I think if Betty's okay, the Queen is. She also wears court heels.
So sweet.
She wears court heels, and the Queen wears those little heels. Now I'm like, neither of you are steady on your feet. Why don't you just wear those nice, sensible rubber shoes, like your boots or something?
My boots aren't sensible. They're rock and roll.
And it's a sort of pride thing.
Do you know, that's so interesting. This is slightly off topic, but Mary Berry once, when we did a shoot with her, wouldn't wear a heel because she was worried that her older fans would try to copy her, because they look to her so much. So that's so interesting.
Yeah, and so they have to wear this heel. So if you think, this is the mindset of the Queen, not wheelchair, it's will I wear my court heels? That's how far she's got to move mentally. And I think it's hugely difficult for the older generation to relinquish the power they have over their own body. It's a loss.
So, Charlotte,
it's a personal loss.
Are you saying if it's a choice between seeing the Queen sort of like sitting down or on a wheelchair and a walking stick, rather than, or not seeing the Queen at all because we don't want to see that vulnerability, but then we want to speculate about how well or not she is, which one do you want?
I think the latter. I think I'd rather not see her, have her on a screen looking all joyful, because that's, well, if nothing else, that's clearly what she wants.
Charlotte, so far when the Queen has pulled out of things, the family rally around and take on more work, but then Camilla's illness this week reminds us that that's piling more work onto other pension-age people.
Yeah, totally.
So, I mean, you know, is that fair?
I don't know, we forget that Camilla's 74.
I do, I forget that all the time.
And actually, Harry and Meghan leaving means there's a lot more work on her plate, and she has a reputation for being work shy, but I think in recent years she's worked her socks off.
Isn't she one of the busiest?
Back in the day, she did used to have a reputation for being work shy, but I think it's unfounded. I think she works her socks off. She does engagement after engagement. She's got long COVID, which I've had long COVID since Christmas. It's pretty bad, actually, and standing on your heels all day.
Between that and your bad back, you're falling apart.
I know, I'm falling apart. But you know, and poor Camilla, she doesn't have the room to fall apart because it's just a relentless schedule. And it's a reminder of how hard the Queen has been working all these years.
So is this keep calm and carry on attitude working for everyone, Tessa?
Well, I think there's clearly challenging issues, and it is hard to get better, isn't it, when you've got a full diary? It's like a kind of mental game along with the physical one. It's also a wonderful reminder, and don't we love Charles for this, that he went for an older woman. I know that he was a married man, he shouldn't have done it.
She's only a year older.
I don't care. She was a bit of an old bicycle and he loved her anyway.
Technicalities, Charlotte, technicalities. Did you just call our future Queen what?
No, I mean,
I'm pretending I didn't hear that.
Oh my word! I do apologise.
It's a compliment.
It's a compliment. That is all we have time for on the YouTube version of our show. For more royal news, views and videos, head over to Mail Plus. That link is on your screen now. See you there.